Hello YouTube, this is Royal Mix Gaming, and today we're going to go over an ultimate guide on what commander should you be working on in Rise of Kingdoms and your journey in Rise of Kingdoms. Okay, so I'm going to flash an infograph up on the screen here real fast. Give me 2 seconds here. This infograph here that I've gotten basically shows you the core commanders that you're going to want in your lineup when you're in Rise of Kingdoms. Okay, so when you begin the game, the first commander you're going to want to do is YSG over here. He is going to be the first commander in the game that you're going to want to expertise, because let's see here. He is going to be the first one that you're going to want to expertise in the game when you're playing the game in Rise of Kingdoms. He comes from the Wheel of Fortune, and he's one of the core commanders that you're going to want to have in your lineup of 5 marches, okay? As you're going through and after you've maxed your YSG, the next option that you can either do is either wait for a good archer commander, such as Artemisia or Ramses when they come into the game, or later as Nebuchadnezzar, which they all come out at the same time right now. So if you want a double AoE, and what I would recommend that you pair with YSG is either going to be Nebuchadnezzar for a double AoE with YSG, or you get Ramses from the wheel, and you can use him with YSG too. It can be either Ramses and YSG or Nebu and YSG. Nebu comes from MGE, Ramses comes from the wheel, okay? I like Nebu better than Ramses because he does a double AoE with YSG, and you're going to get a lot more value from that. Is it harder to obtain Nebu? Yes, okay. A lot of people like Ramses though too, so if you want a single target damage that's tankier than Nebuchadnezzar is going to be, then do Ramses, okay? But I would steer you towards Nebu more because it's going to do you more damage to more marches whenever you're fighting, okay? The next core march that you're going to want to have is William, okay? He's in the middle here. You're going to want to have William 5551. You do not need to expertise him, and you're going to pair him with either Saladin or XY. XY is on top here, and Saladin's on the bottom. When you're starting the game, you're going to get Saladin first, okay? He only has to be 5551 as well. I would recommend you get Saladin to that point, and then unlock William by spinning his wheel. You get Saladin from MG or Card King. Most likely you'll have to get him from Card King if you're in a very active young kingdom when you're starting the game, okay? But later on, once you get to the Season of Conquest, William is going to be available on the wheel, and he's available to everybody, and by that time you should have your YSG maxed and your Saladin finished off at 5551, so that you can spin the wheel for William, okay? And then you're going to get him to 5551 as well, okay? The next core march that you're going to want to do is going to be Guan, okay? Guan's going to come at the same time as everything else, but you're going to want Guan Yu, and you can either do Alex or Leo. I would not recommend using Chiok, however you say it, or YSG with him. It's more single target damage. YSG is going to be really squishy. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but if you don't have some of these other things, there are pairs that you can do while you're working on Alex or Leo, okay? Alex is going to come out long before Leo does, because Leo comes out with Guan. The best pair for Guan is Leo, hands down, because Leo is just tankier and gives Guan more capabilities to fight back, okay? Alex is going to be faster on the field because he gives you march speed. Leo is going to be very slow but very tanky compared to Alex. Leo also does an AoE. Alex is single target. He does have an instant proc, but it's about the same. But I would steer you towards Leo. He only needs to be 5511. The more skills you do, the better Leo's going to be, but that's the minimum you'd have to use for Leo. Alex needs to be expertised, okay? You're going to get Alex first. Leo comes out with Guan, so it's kind of up to you which one you want to do. like I said, Leo's going to be a little bit harder to get because he's on MG. Alex is on the wheel. So if you can't get him from Leo from MG, just stick with Alex. Max your Alex. Go with Guan. It's a solid combo. That is going to be your third march, okay? Your next march, if you want it to be archers, I would recommend getting either a Monitor and an Artemisia, most likely, okay? If you want archers again. If you're going to be doing Nebu and YSG or Ram and YSG, I would recommend Monitor and Artemisia if you want a fourth archer march, okay? It's going to be your second archer march, but your fourth march in your pairs, okay? That's if you want another archer march. That's what I recommend. Both of them are from MGE, so it's going to be a little bit harder to do, but if you want to do something like that, you can do that as well. The next march, other than Artemisia and a Monitor needs to be primary, most likely, because of the support tree, it's better. But if you're garrisoning, it's a little different. But if you can't get both of those, and you're not able to get them on MGE or from Card King, the other march you can do, if you're still doing Nebu and YSG, is Ramses and Tamaris, okay? Because Ramses, you have to expertise, and you don't have to expertise Tamaris. They're right here in the second row to the left at the bottom here. Both of them are next to each other. Ramses, you would need the expertise. Tamaris, you'd only have to do 5-1-5-5. Bare minimum would be 5-1-1-5 because you want the last skill maxed on Tamaris for the maximum stacks possible. That would be another march that you can do if you can't get Artemisia or a Monitor. A Monitor and Artemisia together cancels Artemisia's silence, so that's why they're so good. It's a very good march, harder to get, okay? But if you can get Ramses, you can get Tamaris from the Card King, so she would be fairly cheap investment, and the stacks that you get from Tamaris are highly underrated, and it's really, really good. If you don't want to get Ramses, you don't want to expertise Ramses, you can do Artemisia with Tommy. That's what I use. It's going to be an even slower skill cycle because Artemisia silences herself. It's going to be harder to get, like I said, because Artemisia at first is an MG. The only other way to get her is from Card King, okay? But you would do 5-1-5-5 Artemisia and a 5-1-5-5 Tamaris or 5-1-1-5 Tamaris, okay? That's if you wanted a fourth archer, for your fourth march to be archers, okay? If you want your fourth march to be infantry, the next one I would recommend would be Alex and Harold, okay? Main reason I would say that is because you can do Guan and Leo, because you can get Leo from Card King if you need to, and then get him 5-5-1-1, and then Guan, I would recommend you expertise him because it's just good to expertise him because he's a really good commander, okay? So then you're going to have Alex and Harold. Both of them have to be expertised. Alex and Harold together both have to be expertised. And the right reason I would recommend that march is because it's going to give you a little bit more march speed with Harold. You're going to get instant proc damage from Alex. You're going to get instant proc skill abilities from Harold, and it's going to be a really good march, okay? That's if you want your fourth march to be infantry, okay? The other one you can do is Pakal and Harold, but Pakal comes from MG. I'm pretty sure he comes from MG, and Alex comes from the wheel, and so does Harold. So it's going to be a little bit easier to get Alex and Harold than it is going to get the Pakal and Harold, okay? That's if you want your fourth march to be infantry, okay? If you want your fourth march to be cavalry, you're going to have to do something a little bit different, okay? You're going to have to split your Saladin and William, okay? And you're going to have to put Saladin with Ethelfled or Mulan. Saladin Ethelfled or Saladin Mulan. And you're going to get XY and William, okay? You're going to have to expertise XY. William only has to be 5-5-5-1. Same thing with Saladin, 5-5-5-1. And then you're going to have Ethelfled, which you should have expertise by this time, okay? I would recommend XY because he's high skill damage. He does a lot of AoE. He has a debuff. And even though if he's going to get targeted, you can get away. And you kind of just, if you're getting swarmed, you're going down either way with any march that you have. Yes, he's going to be squishier than an infantry march, but that's the way it is. I use it. I like it a lot. But that's another option that you can do if you want your fourth march to be cavalry, okay? Your fifth march needs to be a support style march, okay? And the reason I would say that is because having your fifth march as a support is better than having a fifth damage march. Now, in the early game, you're going to get Constantine. He's not on here. I guess I can show him real fast here because I have him. Constantine is going to be one of the MG commanders and harder to get. But you should be working on some of your other commanders like Saladin and YSG and something, or Alex, before you work on Constantine, okay? It's a lot lower priority to have Constantine because you can use things like Charles and Joan or things like that if you don't have access to Constantine at first. Constantine only needs to be 5511, and you can pair it with Joan of Arc so that you can have a buffer march as your fifth support march. Another type of support march that you can go with that you should be working on if you can't get Constantine, don't want Constantine, is Trajan. Okay, a lot of people max out Trajan because they have these other 4 marches styles that are skill damage, and Trajan buffs them so they do more damage, and he makes them tankier and things like that, and makes the target take more damage and things like that. And people pair him with Ethelfled. You do the same thing with Constantine if you want, but if you're going to have your 4th march as cavalry, you're not going to be able to do that, so you have to use Joan, okay? But Constantine and Joan is really, really tanky. Not going to get you the best trades, obviously, because Constantine is just going to be buffing you with a 10% debuff that you're going to take 10% less damage on all your marches, and give them an attack reduction. I will say it makes a big deal if you have a support march as your 5th march rather than having a damage march. It is better than having a 5th damage march, but you will get worse trades with your support march. It's just the way it works because your other marches are getting buffed and are going to do better than them. Okay, so those are going to be your 5 core marches that I would recommend you do. And they're basically the main commanders I have here that are expertise. All of them here, except for Richard, something I shouldn't have done, are types of marches that you can have or expertise and use in the open field. If you're a whale and can get 6 or 7 marches, this isn't the video for you because most people won't have 6 or 7 marches. So these are just for the top 5 marches that you can do and what kind of commanders you can pair with, which ones you can pair it with. Because I have most of these commanders, just this scroll here, as you can see, either expertise or really, really close. The reason why, for me, whenever I'm using my marches, I use a little bit different, pretty close to what I told you to use. I use Art and Tom, Guan and Leo, Nebu YSG, XY and William, and my 5th march is going to have to be Richard and Alex because I'm going to have 6 marches very, very soon, and it's going to be either I use Richard and Alex or I do something like Constantine and Joan, and then I use Saladin and Ethelfled. I have more infantry troops, so I'm kind of having to do what I have to do for my account, but that's because I'm having 6 marches, okay? So just to recap, I'm going to show you this infograph one more time, just so you can look at it. These are the core marches you want. Guan, William, we got YSG, and then some of the other combinations that you can do are all on this screen. But like I've listed before, that's the kind of marches you should be working on. Don't be working on things like necessarily Attila Takeda and things like that. That's more niche style stuff. It's not going to be necessarily as good as having these kinds of marches, okay? You have this style of marches. You have Guan, you have William with somebody, you have Nebu or Ram with YSG, you have Artemisia or another Artemisia and a Monitor, or you have Artemisia Tommy, and then you have Ram and YSG, something like that. And then you have either Constantine or Trajan or something like that. It's a buffer march that's going to support your other marches. You're going to get very good trades, okay? But in the open field, you just have to be careful. But these are the main marches I would recommend to you and to everybody that isn't a whale, okay? Even whales have these marches, okay? But they're going to have 6 or 7 marches, so they have to kind of mix and match a little bit differently than the rest of us, okay? Especially if they have 7, it gets messy when they get to 7. And some of the other marches that they can make are very niche and things that you have to have max, stuff like that. All of these marches you don't necessarily have to have max, but they are better when you max them, okay? I would recommend you max all of these commanders except for a couple. Okay, you don't have to max Saladin, you don't have to max William. Basically everybody else, though, I'd recommend you expertise them. Because you're going to need to at some point, other than Tamaris and some of the other ones I listed off before. I gave you the skill orders, but obviously if you expertise them, they're better, but you don't have to for some of these commanders, and I told you which ones. I'm not going to go back through them all because there's quite a few that you don't have to max. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry for the infograph. It's a little... I had to mess with it some. It comes from somewhere. I don't understand where exactly. I hope you guys learned from this. I hope this answers a lot of your questions, because this was recommended to me by somebody else to make this video, because I'm trying to in-depth talk about commanders and which commanders are core commanders, okay? And all these in the middle here are core commanders, in my opinion. You want to have every single one. Trajan's a little bit different, because you can have Constantine instead. It's a cheaper investment. That's the only one that you can kind of go both ways on, okay? Because I don't have Trajan right now. But those are the core marches I would recommend to you. Scroll back in the video if you need to hear that again. Which ones I would recommend with what pairs, which ones I'd recommend you to expertise, things like that. But if you guys like this video, drop a like on it, subscribe for more content, because in the coming days I'll be trying to have altar fights or pass openings or something like that for my KVKs that I'm having. I was going to upload Arc Match yesterday, but I've been having a lot of issues with my storage on my phone, and it somehow got it deleted. I was very upset about it. That's why I'm making this longer video, trying to make up for it, to kind of teach you guys which marches I would recommend you have, okay? I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Like I said, scroll back if you need to hear any more of this. Leave a comment if you have a question. I can answer it as best I can. And I hope you guys have a nice day.